Hey, TYT Sports RotoWire, Heather Ankeny, Ben Mankiewicz, Chris Liss. Daily fantasy sports. Just read this big article on the fact that they're pretty much taking over and could become the favorite versus season-long fantasy sports. How do you guys feel about that?
Well, just full disclosure, we take a lot of advertising from these guys on RotoWire, and in fact, we have people trying to sponsor these clips. So let's just be fully honest that there's a lot of money here, and I have no problem with taking some of it and putting my daughter through college with some of it. So let's just be fully honest, and I do dabble in it. I played the $1 Million DraftKings one. I won $50, well, profit of 23. Very proud of myself. Very pleased with my decision to put an entry in for the first time this weekend. We have a partnership with Fantasy Aces. We have a lot of different partnerships, okay? So what it is, if you don't know, is obviously season long is you draft your team before the year and you're stuck with those guys and you compete and you get wins and losses like anything else.
And most importantly, the most fun for me always, at least in years where I'm good, is the roster management. Like that is the weekly fantasy to me. That's the DFS is your constant roster management.
But you're limited to the guys on your roster in the waiver wire. If somebody else has, DeMarco Murray, that you're not going to get him unless you can trade half your team for him, and he still probably won't do it. So week to week you can do it. It's usually salary cap based. The contest now they may evolve. Okay, and so the benefit to me of the season long and why I'm still sort of mostly a season long guy, and I would hope that it's still the dominant form of fantasy football, is because it's sustainable over the long haul. It's sort of a smaller hobby. You do your draft, you get geared up for that one day, it's an event with your buddies, you get your players, and then you got to put in half an hour a week at a minimum and you're fine. In baseball there's a lot more work, but at least in football, half an hour a week's good enough. And you have this you have the community of your guys, and even if you're the Chicago Cubs, right? Like every year you suck. There's still that hope that one year you're going to get the Priest Holmes or the LaDainian Tomlinson guy, and you're going to win, and you're going to be able to say, Ben, you asshole, I know you win 3 out of 5 years, but I'm kicking your ass this year.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's really great. And the Cubs guy who has the chance, it's so exciting, right? There's that sort of history and community, whatever. With DFS, there's a community among the super pros, like they're all friends, and I follow some on Twitter. But like among the vast people who are mostly paying into the system and not winning, because obviously there's a rake for the the companies that they make money and have a business. There's not that community.
Well, they compare them to like poker players. These professional daily fantasy players.
The pros are like pro poker players, right? And so the guys on the new guys, some of whom can get really good. I'm sure if Ben or somebody applied himself and took it really seriously, you could get good and win games and win. And so if you're really savvy, you can, I think, do okay. But for the vast majority, obviously it's a net loss because there's the piece that's taken out by the companies to make a profit. And I worry that, okay, I'm a college kid and oh, cool, I'm getting this daily fantasy, put my $100 in, $200 in. Not like it's going to bankrupt me. Most people aren't addicted gambblers, or not even gamblers, addicted whatever.
Why do you look at me when you say that?
but I fear that like they're going to lose a few $100 and be like, this, I'm done with this, right?
Yeah, I look, I think there's some, I feel like I sound old. Sound old defending something that I started doing in 1993, but there's something about having your team. I mean, the great thing about the season long was that you got to be the general manager. You got to construct a team. You got to do the thing that I always wanted to do my entire life from the time I was 8 until the time that I discovered rotisserie in 1992 or 3, that I can put the team together. This is my team.
But you still get to do that.
That's true. Yeah, but it's different. It's different on a weekly basis. You were in it for the season, and you have to make those decisions. I'm 1-3. Am I just wedded to my players, or did I get some bad luck? And might I be able to turn this around, or do I need to try something dramatic? Those are the decisions real general managers make when you're in baseball. When you're 40 and 45, is this a team you blow up, or is this a team that's going to play significantly better in the last 77 games of the season? So. That said, it's just another form of gambling. It's not any different. I don't worry about I guess you're worried about college kids not wanting to do fantasy, but it's really not any different than spending that $100 or $200 betting 4 games at $50 on Sunday, is it?
Well, there's different. One thing, it's legal, okay? So it's actually not considered gambling by the law, okay?
Because it's a skill.
Right, because it's a skill-based game. I would think some actual sports betting is skill-based also, but that's a different argument, okay?
The distinction is, I think, overall silly, but I hear you.
But it's one that's taken very seriously, and they get very mad if you say that. But I will just say this, is that I don't worry about that because I don't think it's like, I think it should be legal, obviously. I think, come on, the problems we have in the society, that you're going to shut this down. But I don't even think that's an issue anymore because NBC put in like $40 million. Comcast put in like $70 million. I mean, once these companies that own our so-called elected representatives start putting in real money into these things, which they now have, it's not going to get overturned, okay? I mean, when it was small, maybe the Indian casinos or something could have killed it. Maybe somebody with interest that, this money's finite. I mean, it's got to go somewhere. Could have killed it. It is too big now. Don't worry about it being made illegal. It's there to stay, and it should be. I think that this is something that is a choice, and I like having the option of putting this in.
Sure.
Of putting in $25 or $50. And I'm very responsible. If I lose a couple $100, I'll say, okay, I'm backing off. I'm not going to like bankrupt myself. I think that my biggest worry is just simply that this is what people are first exposed to as fantasy. They don't get that community aspect, and then it burns itself out.
That's the most important. That you're in, and it's not just that you're making those decisions at 1 and 3. You're in with your friends or even acquaintances, but you're in a league, and it is a small community. It's a 10-guy community, a 12-guy community, a 14-guy community. A 14-person community.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm pro DFS existing, even though I have concerns about it. Getting burnt out. There is something fun about being able to put down $25, and instead of going to a lottery where it's just a bunch of numbers, ping pong balls, you can actually pick your players and win $1 million that day, or 10,000 or 5,000 with a smaller field, and that you could actually get this long shot bet and win, right? And it is also true, and this is a marketing thing they do, but I actually agree with it, that when your fantasy team is 0-9, I don't know whose team's 0-9, but some poor sap out there probably has an 0-9 fantasy team. In that case, I mean, it is nice to say, you know what, like if that's my only team, and I'm kind of soured on watching football, I can like now just do a daily thing and have something to root for.
Well, for the longest time, they did that like the fifth quarter. They would do that in the playoffs, where you would do your fantasy sports. You basically got to do that. How you pick the team
in the playoffs.
In the playoffs, yeah.
But you had to wait till the playoffs started.
Well, yeah, but at least you had you could scratch the itch a little bit longer.
Right.
And
obviously.
No, they'll never see it. But here, just to back it up.
You are 0-9.
No,
we believe you.
Also, yes.
By
far.
I'm not. It's not bad luck.
Yeah, no.
I've heard it. I've heard it.
But there's been bad drafting
hey,
and bad
also
luck.
pro DFS, I like the idea of getting to players. There are some players I never get, and a lot because I'm in a keeper league, and I never get a shot at having Aaron Rodgers as a quarterback.
And you didn't.
Yeah, and I'll never get that guy. So sometimes it's fun to, look, I have a roster with that guy on it.
Real quick, just let me. Last thing I need to say is, when you said they'll get mad, I said you meant that the DFS guys will get mad if they say I don't think it's skill.
No, that the distinction's not significant, right? The idea that.
So who gets mad?
The DFS and everybody who makes so much money off of this, right, which is including like every ad sales guide, every fantasy company, if you say, okay, I don't see any distinction, I don't see why this is any more skill-based than, say, sports betting, they get mad because that's why they're legal and sports betting is illegal.
I got you. I just think that I suppose right now maybe there even is a distinction. I just think there's skill in sports betting. It's just been opened up to people who it's so readily available, and always, I guess, has been to people with so little skill at it.
Yeah.
And even having a skill at it does not in any way guarantee that you'll make money.
I agree with you in the sense that I think the argument they should have made, but they obviously won and they're legal, so they were smart. But the argument they should have made is, look, driving on the highway can be a gamble if you don't look while you're merging. Okay, I mean, everything can be a gamble. The question is, investing in the stock market is the craziest gamble ever if you're just day trading like an idiot and don't know what you're doing, or just buying and selling based on what you're seeing on TV. But if you actually know what you're doing, it's investing.
Right.
And I think like the pros who know what they're doing in daily, it is investing. And the new guys are like getting their feet wet. They're probably just gambling with this money. But if they take the time to learn, it becomes a skill-based game. And I think that's with most activities.
I am in this weekend.
You're doing it?
I'm doing
Let's
it.
all
I gotta
do
find
it.
out. You'll
Let's all
tell
do
me.
it.
Go through RotoWire because we get a little
All right,
credit
I'll go.
for
You'll tell me where to
deposit.
go.
Just click on anything.
I'm
We
sold.
have like all of them on.
All right, you guys too.